I see my video yesterday on crystals got a lot of discussion. Friends contacting me. Robert is fallen. He's dropped into the new age. Yada, 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 yada. And I just thought, I just wanted to really engage Catholic minds on this subject. Because a lot of stuff that the new age has stolen has been inverted. Now, and to be clear, and I did say it in the video, but don't think people hear, I don't have any crystals in my house. I don't have the money or the time to really get involved in buying any of these crystals, and my kids don't have them. And another reason why I don't have crystals is the places that sell the crystals usually are new age shops or witchcraft. And I never buy anything from a shop that is involved in that, because like a cross, like an object, a sacred object, we get blessed by a priest. If I'm going to wear this and use this, it's blessed by a priest. These stones, generally in shops that you don't know what incantation or spell has been put on these stones. That's why we don't use them. I don't buy them. I don't get them, I don't search them out, and I don't employ them. Neither do I encourage you to go out to a new age shop to get these stones. But if I go to London and I go to the Tower of London and I look at the crown jewels of the king or whoever, you can admire these stones. That are set in a beautiful crown as they are. But I just thought I really want to engage in this subject, because people don't understand what they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know. A lot of Catholics are illiterate about their own biblical history, about the lives of the saints, about what saints did and what saints used and for what purpose, and purposes is important. Okay, so just want to take you that back. This is a picture of a Levite priest. A Levite priest in Jerusalem temple. And if you see here, I'm just going to make it bigger, bring it in here. You see this breastplate here? This breastplate has 12 gemstones. Okay, so this would have been part of their worship. In the sense that that's how a priest would have been prepared to go into the temple. Now, there's a thing called Revelations, and you go to chapter 21, and it talks about the foundation wall. It talks about the New Jerusalem, and the foundation of the wall of the city was adorned with every kind of jewel. The first was jasper, the second sapphire, the third agate, the fourth emerald, the fifth onyx, the sixth carnelian, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysopas, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. So we see the priests of old, which had a breastplate with gems. We see in Revelations the New Jerusalem with these gemstones there. We see Saint Hildegard mentioning how Satan hates these stones. Really important. And so why are all of these things caught up in the New Age? Because Satan always inverts. He takes what's good, and these stones, according to Revelations, are part of the New Jerusalem. He takes what's good and inverts it. It's the same with a phone. You can use a phone for many things. You can use a phone to make phone calls, and you use it for what's good. Or you use a phone to make drug deals or to watch pornography. The same object used for two different ends. So your will is involved in two different ends with one object. Could be. Do people understand the distinction here? So when St. Thomas Aquinas, important saint in the church, mentions that sapphires stop bleeding. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying that's what he wrote. That's what St. Thomas Aquinas wrote in one of his letters. We're just emphasizing that back in that era of the church, back in that day, these things would have been used, and there would have been no occult significations against them. There'd be no demonic significations. People weren't saying, no, get rid of those stones or don't use those stones. They just would have been employed in that way, along with plants and along with other things. So if people read Saint Hildegard's book, it's like a medical. Today we would class it as alternative medicine, with all of the different things that she would have employed. And how would they have done it? They would have, done it and seen how it works and see the effects and just continued on. Okay, and I'm just relaying our history in the church. If you go back and read the Bible, the gospel, at one stage our Lord makes a paste of saliva and earth, and he rubs it on the eyes of a blind man, and he asks him to go and bathe in water. If you read Saint Hildegard's book and how she's employing those stones, she's often talking about using the stone and the saliva, putting in your eye and so forth. Okay, and they were doing this without any connotations to occult or anything like this. This is just what people did. This is the medicines that they used. That was the era. Okay. Now, fast forward to today, and of course, the New Age takes Christ out of all of this completely. Now, Saint Hildegard, she's going to mass. She's praying. She's a nun. She's teaching her nuns about all of these practices. She's fully Catholic. This is Christendom, the Christendom that everybody yearns for, Christendom in Europe. This is St. Hildegard. Today, people have taken these things and they've removed Christ from them. And it's really you're really back in pagan times in a certain way. But people understand how truth can be distorted. Especially now if they're all in sale in witchcraft shops and occult shops and New Age shops. I'm not going to go in there and buy anything from those shops, or much less use a crystal from one of those shops, because you don't know what else you're going to bring along with them. And that's why exorcists will say, no, don't get involved in it. And rightly so. You don't know who's touched that crystal before you. I'd have no problem touching a sapphire that St. Hildegard would have held in her hand back in the day, if such an object exists. I'd have no problem touching that, but I have a big problem touching a sapphire that a witch could have hexed. You don't know. So don't go out and buy these things and bring them into your house, because you don't know who's touched them. You don't know what spell could have been put on them. And as I said, magic is a reality, whether you like it or not. It's spoken about in the Bible. It's been practiced for thousands of years. And we don't get involved in it. We don't lend our will to that. We don't get involved in it. And it's important that you catechize your kids. No Ouija boards, no seances, no tarot card readings, no palm readings, no future fortune tellers. All of these things that you're exposing your will, you're freely exposing your will to practices that could impact you in your life, Reiki and so forth. And so I wanted to make these distinctions because a lot of Catholics don't know what they don't know. They haven't engaged in this study. They don't know what they don't know. But you see how things can be inverted. These gemstones, which are so precious, which Satan hates, of course Satan has to invert them. Same with the phone. Good idea and principle that I'm able to call somebody, but can be inverted for evil very quickly. And it depends what you use that object for. So, an education here, guys. For example, if you meet somebody in the New Age that does use gemstones, how do you dialogue with that person? How do you have a conversation about gemstones with somebody that's involved in the New Age? Now, you can rush in there and say, oh, they're demonic, get them out of the house and so forth. And you can shut the doors and that person will never talk to you again because you're not engaging with them in a way that they will understand. Or you can say, oh, gemstones, we had a saint in the church. She wrote a book on those. And she said, Satan hates them. Satan hates these stones. Oh, I didn't know that Catholics had this. That's very... Yeah, we had a St. Thomas Aquinas. He also speaks about this as well. The powers of certain metals and the powers of certain stones. That gold cures depression and sapphire can stop bleeding, blah, blah, blah. You can engage in a constructive way to befriend and evangelize. Leading them in to say, well, where did you buy those stones? Did you ever think of getting a priest to bless them? Oh no, what do you mean a priest to bless them? Well, objects can be cursed. A good object can be cursed. Something that's good can be cursed. This is a reality, and it can bring problems into your family. That's why you don't bring anything into your house. I don't have any of these stones in my house because I wouldn't trust the places that sell them. Simple as. That's the truth of the matter. I wouldn't trust. I had actually one stone, like a mask, once years ago that I had bought in Mexico, and I threw it in the rubbish. I went out one day and I just threw it in the rubbish because I didn't know where it was from. It was in the face of a mask. It was something bought in a market. And I said, I don't know. Why do I have this? Why do I have this? Why do I have this object? So years ago, I just chucked it in the rubbish. And that's the simple reason I don't. Why are you using these things? But in a world that does use them, you have to be able to employ a profound conversation, to be able to explain and to be able to help that person. Now, if somebody has just bought on a holiday a sapphire and they're wearing it as a brooch or they're wearing it around their neck or something like this, innocently, without employing their will, without, I don't see the harm in these stones. And again, these stones have been used in jewellery for centuries. As I said, in the temple days, the Levites priests had them on their breastplate. So, like everything, why are you using them? What purpose? Where did you get them from? Etc. etc. And I think this is good sense. This is good things. As I said, the New Age has inverted a lot of things. Has taken what is good and has inverted it. Taken what is good and drawn it away from Christ, separated it from Christ. Why is do people see this? And that's why it's good that you study. Catholics, study the lives of the saints, study what they did, study how they worked, study their eras. What did saints in the 1,000 years ago, what did they do? If you walked into a monastery, a convent 1,000 years ago, what would you have seen? Would you have seen potions, mixed with herbal potions and stuff like this? You would have. Would you have seen crystals in those monasteries 1,000 years ago? Most definitely you would have. Because St. Hildegard is speaking about these things. And she didn't invent this. This was just what she had learned. And it was, okay, well, this object, this God-created object, not a demonic object, this piece of rock, of stone, it has this property when used in this way. This is what they observed. Now, whether it actually worked, I don't know. But that's what they did. And so when you see somebody caught up in crystals today, you can baptize, in a sense, their understanding of what they're doing. But also, making them aware, okay, well, who did the objects can be cursed. You're wearing an object around your neck or something like this. Where did you get it? Who do you understand? You know what I mean? And exorcists will know a lot more than this. But if you're going to engage in a New Age world, in a world that's so pagan today, in many ways, you need to inform yourself. You need to educate yourself, to understand, so that you can actually dialogue and talk on a specific topic, especially on this area of crystals and so forth. And I was just making that video in relation to a Himalayan salt lamp that somebody says was demonic, get it out of their house. And I'm saying, hold on a second. unless this thing has been cursed somewhere along the line, it's a piece of salt. It's literally a piece of salt. End of story. A pretty lamp made of a piece of salt that could have some health benefits that even modern medicine is acknowledging. And, salt as a crystal is something that our Lord spoke about it, to be the salt of the earth. So, people need to engage their mind and make distinctions and study up really, so that you can evangelize in the world that you live in, the world that uses these objects, but without Christ. The world that uses them above Christ. They think, so many people in the New Age and the occult, they think that those powers are greater than Christ. No, Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Christ is far greater. But in order to dialogue with them, the mindfulness, the New Age, the Buddhism, all of these things that people are so attracted to, you have to understand that. You have to understand, because there are some truths that are true in other religions. There are some truths. Buddhism was you can find some truths in there that we can agree on. But the fullness, to engage them with Christ, you have to understand and make distinctions about what they're, you have to. And this is important, and a lot of people don't do it because they don't know, they're not educated. In Rome, when I studied philosophy as a seminarian, we would have studied a lot of these things from a philosophical point of view. We would have studied philosophy of religions. It's a course. So you're able to understand the different religions and so forth. And there are elements of what is good, true, and beautiful in other religions. And this is not to say that, not everything in Buddhism is wrong or Hinduism is wrong. So do people understand? So what you have to be able to study and understand. But that doesn't mean to go in and start practicing those religions. This distinction is made. Otherwise, we'd never be able to evangelize. When all of this Eastern thought, religious practice, has been incorporated into the New Age in the West, how do you evangelize a pagan New Age world? How do you enter into evangelize a world that is so packed with occult? People engage their will in this. How do you do this? How do you capture? And this is, it'll take effort. It'll take effort. That's why distinctions are needed. So if you're out and you happen to meet somebody that's heavily involved in crystals and wants to sell crystals to you, and you can just say, I've already read St. Hildegard's book on gemstones. She's very interesting. I advise you read that, and she talks about how to employ them and so forth. It could be a good talking point. It could be a good starting point, because you probably throw them off. Because they say, Catholics, what? Catholics use gemstones. Oh yeah, saints of the church. Yeah, St. Thomas Aquinas talks about it. And why don't you have... Well, I don't use them because I don't know where they come from. I don't use them. I don't employ them. But you see, you're able to engage at their level and bring it higher. Whereas some people haven't a clue because they've never studied and they don't know what they don't know. And so to cap it off, why do I not advise you to go out and buy healing stones? Because you don't know where they've come from. And usually the shops that sell them are usually witchcraft shops or New Age shops. Do you get me why I say don't use them? As a Catholic, on a Catholic channel, I don't advise using them. I don't know where they came from. I don't. And then I think the most powerful object for healing sometimes is the cross. But that said, going back to St. Hildegard, Satan hates those stones. Satan hates those stones. So it's just something to be aware of. And why wouldn't of course the New Age is going to appropriate what Satan hates and invert it. It's an interesting time. But anyway, just thought I'd inform people so that you can go back and study and understand and make distinctions. It's really important. Really, really important. And a lot of people are not capable of doing it. It's a knee-jerk reaction to something. Oh, no, I've listened to your video for 2 minutes and Robert, you're totally off. I said, yeah, you listened for 2, you didn't listen to the end. You haven't educated yourself. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.